They say money makes a man. But what happens when that man disappears beneath rags, and the one he loves is forced to choose between truth and illusion? Let me take you to the beating heart of Lagos, where skyscrapers claw at the sky and Bentleys roll like chariots of the gods. There lived a man, known in boardrooms and banquet halls, feared in finance circles and admired by magazine covers. His name: Chief Ayotunde Olamide, a billionaire of silent ruthlessness and velvet charm. He owned oil rigs, tech companies, and half of the city's skyline, but not once did he believe he owned love. Not truly. You see, Ayotunde had grown up in the belly of the streets, in a forgotten slum where the gutters overflowed, and supper was sometimes a memory. But he clawed his way out. Not just out, up. And with every million he earned, every suit he tailored, he wondered, would anyone love me if I had nothing again? That thought became his obsession. Even though he had a woman beside him, Afideo, a beauty whose laughter could stop traffic and whose kiss could silence his darkest doubts, something in him still feared the truth. What if she was in love with the empire, not the man? What if he, Ayotunde, the barefoot boy from Bariga, was unworthy without his gold? And so, he did something few would dare. He vanished. Yes, vanished. If you're enjoying this story and feel the emotions running deep, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to AfroTales TV. Your support helps us bring more powerful African tales to life. And don't forget to turn on the bell so you never miss a twist. It began quietly. He transferred control of his companies to his most trusted executives, signed a power of attorney, and fabricated a financial collapse. The news media, hungry as ever, devoured the story. Nigerian tech tycoon declares bankruptcy amid scandal, splashed across headlines. Social media buzzed, investors panicked, and suddenly, the mighty Ayotunde was a ghost, his name now whispered with pity and suspicion. But Afideo didn't know it was all a performance. He watched from afar as her calls went unanswered, her texts left unread. Then, on the fifth day, he returned, dressed in tattered jeans, worn sandals, and a dusty cap pulled low. He looked like any other beggar on the roadside, except his eyes still gleamed with the burden of knowing too much. He knocked on her door. At first, she didn't recognize him. Who would? His cologne had been replaced by the musk of the street, his fine wristwatch swapped for a cracked, empty plastic bracelet. She gasped when she finally saw the eyes, those eyes she once kissed on her balcony under the moon. "Ayo," she whispered, disbelief painted across her face. "What happened to you?" He lied. He told her his empire had crumbled, his enemies had bled him dry, and that he had no one left. She stared at him for a long time. And then, she stepped aside and let him in. He slept on her couch that night, curled beneath a worn wrapper, the ceiling fan whining above like a tired bird. Afideo brought him water. She said little. She made no promises. But she didn't turn him away. For a moment, Ayotunde's heart stirred with hope. Maybe, just maybe, she truly loved him. But the days that followed would test that fragile hope in ways he never expected. For while one mask had come off, another was just beginning to slip. "Are you hooked already?" Then pause for just a second, like this video and hit subscribe to join the AfroTales family. We drop jaw-dropping stories filled with love, betrayal, destiny, and redemption. New chapters await, and trust me, you won't want to miss them. It is easy to open your door to a man in need. But what lies behind that welcome, the warmth of love, or the cold calculation of convenience? The next morning, the sun rose lazily over the city, spilling golden light through Afideo's curtains as though reluctant to disturb what was now a broken paradise. Ayotunde sat on the edge of her worn-down couch, his body aching from a restless sleep, his mind more restless still. He watched Afideo from the corner of his eye as she moved about her flat, elegant as ever, yet less radiant than before. The silk wraps and gold bangles had disappeared. In their place, she wore a plain wrapper and a hairnet that spoke not of glamour, but of grit. She brewed pap in silence. He spoke no word. Then suddenly, she asked, "So, what will you do now?" A question soft on the lips, but sharp as a blade. "I don't know," he replied, eyes fixed on the floor. "Everything's gone. I just need time." She nodded, as if the words meant something, but her eyes betrayed an inner storm. By the third day, Ayotunde began to notice the changes. If you're enjoying this story and feel the emotions running deep, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Afrotales TV. Your support helps us bring more powerful African tales to life. And don't forget to turn on the bell so you never miss a twist. The food portions grew smaller. Her laughter, once frequent and honeyed, turned rare. And her phone, always buzzing. She would step outside to take calls, her voice low, sometimes nervous, sometimes cold. At first, he dismissed it. Who wouldn't feel pressure? Taking in a man you thought was a king, only to find out he was now a pauper. But then came the envelope. That evening, as she stepped out to buy recharge card, a man approached the compound gate, a tall stranger in an expensive white kaftan with a branded wristwatch that caught the dying sunlight like a knife. He asked for video and handed the security guard a brown envelope. No words, no greetings. Ayotunde, hidden behind the faded curtain, watched everything. When she returned and opened it, her expression faltered for just a second, shock, then guilt, then calm. She quickly tucked the envelope beneath her clothes and walked into the kitchen like nothing had happened. But Ayotunde had seen enough. Later that night, while she showered, he tiptoed into her bedroom. The envelope lay between her pillows. He opened it. Inside, 500,000 Nigerian nairas in fresh naira notes, and a folded note that read, "You don't owe him anything. You deserve more. I'll be waiting. D." Ayotunde's hands trembled, not from rage, but from heartbreak. Who was D? Why did she take the money? Was she being pressured, or making her escape? He said nothing. He returned the envelope and closed the door softly behind him. But the doubt was now a shadow he could no longer ignore. The next morning, Afidel served him beans without eye contact. She said she needed space. That she'd applied for a job in Abuja and would be leaving in a few days. "Just to clear my head," she added, almost casually. Ayotunde smiled faintly, his face unreadable. He had planned to end the test after a week, reveal the truth, and take her to Paris like he'd promised. But now he wasn't sure who was being tested anymore. What if the one playing the game was being outplayed? And so, the man who had once ruled empires with silence decided to watch and wait, wearing the mask of the broken until he knew if her kindness was born of love or leverage. If this tale has touched you, if you've paused to reflect, gasped in disbelief, or felt your heart stir, please like the video and subscribe to Afrotales TV. These stories deserve to be told, and your engagement helps them reach the world. Every smile hides a history. And sometimes, love is just a mirror held up to the shadows we refuse to confront. For the next 2 days, Ayotunde watched Afidel the way a hunter watches the silence before the rustle. Every movement she made, every word she spoke, felt calculated. Warm enough to avoid suspicion, but never intimate. Not anymore. Gone were the soft touches, the playful teases, the late-night memories they used to share like stolen mangoes in Harmattan. Something had changed. Or perhaps, someone had returned. He couldn't shake the image of the letter, "You don't owe him anything." The words echoed like drums in a shrine. That night, while she stepped out for one of her mysterious walks, Ayotunde followed her. He knew the streets of Lagos too well, he had built part of them, after all, and moving like a ghost, he traced her steps through the half-lit alleys and rusted gates until she arrived at a quiet bar in Suralia. Hidden in plain sight, the kind of place where secrets wear suits and everyone knows when to look away. She entered. Moments later, he did too. Tall. Sharp beard. Designer sandals. A man who wore confidence like armor and had the lazy smile of someone who believed he always got what he wanted. They embraced. Ayotunde's chest tightened. He crept to a cracked window near the back, its blinds partially drawn. Through the jagged slit, he watched them sit close. Too close. Dee reached for her hand. She pulled it back. He leaned forward. She shook her head, whispering fiercely. He shrugged, and passed her a smaller envelope this time. She took it, but with trembling hands. Ayotunde's pulse slowed. This wasn't love. This was something else. When she left the bar an hour later, Ayotunde didn't follow her home. He followed Dee. The man entered the compound in Lekki Phase 1. Guards opened the gate without question. A house like a fortress. Ayotunde took mental notes, the name on the gate, the cars in the driveway. Damalola Adibi. A rival. Years ago, Ayotunde had crushed one of Damalola's tech startups in a merger bid that never went through. The man had vanished for a while, but now it seemed he had re-emerged, not in the boardroom, but in Ayotunde's personal life. But why Ifedeo? Back in her flat, Ayotunde confronted her without confronting her. He asked gently, "Is there anything you want to tell me?" She paused. Her lips parted. But the words she chose were measured. "Not everything is as it seems, Ayo. But I'm doing the best I can." A diplomatic answer. Neither betrayal nor confession. He nodded, pretending to understand. That night, while she slept, Ayotunde went back to her room and searched. Not out of vengeance, but necessity. In a drawer behind a pile of scarves, he found the proof. A photo. Ifedeo and Damalola. From 3 years ago. Holding hands at a beach resort. Smiling. But what broke him wasn't the image. It was what was written behind it, in her own handwriting. "You saved me once. But I'll never be yours. Not truly." And now, Ayotunde began to see the full picture, not just of her, but of himself. He had orchestrated this grand deception to test her love, never realizing that she, too, was hiding her own truths. This wasn't a story of one liar. It was a story of two masks, both sleeping, both cracking. And in the spaces between them lay a question neither wanted to ask. Was any of it ever real? If you're enjoying this story and feel the emotions running deep, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Afrotales TV. Your support helps us bring more powerful African tales to life. And don't forget to turn on the bell so you never miss a twist. Sometimes the one we test is also testing us. And when the masks fall, only truth remains, naked, sharp, and full of consequence. By morning, the air in the flat was heavy, not with heat, but with the tension of unspoken things. Ifedeo moved about slowly, distracted. She avoided Ayotunde's gaze. Her fingers trembled as she folded laundry that had already been folded. Her phone buzzed twice. She didn't pick up. Ayotunde sat at the edge of the couch, still dressed in the same dusty clothes, his posture humble, but his mind roaring. He had seen the photo. He had followed Damalola. He knew. But knowledge without confrontation is like fire in a closed room, it consumes silently. So he spoke. "Ifedeo, what are we doing?" She blinked. "What do you mean?" "This, us. Me, sleeping here like a ghost. You walking around like a stranger. What is this?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. Then, with a breath she didn't want to take, she sat down across from him. And whispered, "I was going to marry you." Ayo's eyes narrowed. "Was. I loved you, Ayotunde," she said. "I still do, but everything changed when you disappeared." No word. No explanation. I thought you were dead. Or worse. And then the scandal, the bankruptcy. He leaned forward. So you ran back to him? No, she snapped, then softened. No. I didn't run. He found me. Damalola always finds me. He is the reason I left Ibadan in the first place. I didn't want to ever see him again. Her voice quivered now. He wasn't just my ex. He was dangerous. Controlling. He made promises. Then he made threats. I ran. I came to Lagos. I changed my number. I thought I was free. Then you happened. You made me feel safe, seen. Ayo stared, stunned. The narrative had shifted. The villain wasn't her, it was the man who wore perfume and smiled with gold teeth. So why take the money? He asked, voice barely above a whisper. She broke. Because I was scared. Because I thought I'd lose everything again. Because I thought maybe you wouldn't come back, and I'd be alone. I didn't ask for it. He just left it. And I didn't spend it. It's still there. Take it, if you think it proves something. There was silence. The kind that stretches between two cliffs of pain, where no words can build a bridge. Finally, Ayotunde said, what if I told you? I never lost anything. Her eyes widened. What? What if I told you the bankruptcy, the fall, was all a lie? A test. To see if you'd stay. He expected anger. Rage. Maybe even a slap. But instead, Afedeo laughed. Not joyfully. Not cruelly. But brokenly. You tested me, she said, through trembling lips. You pretended to lose everything just to see if I would still love you. He looked down. I had to know. She stood slowly. And now you do. But what about Damalola? She raised her hand. No. You don't get to ask questions right now. You lied, Ayotunde. You disappeared. You manipulated everything. And now you're judging me for reacting to a storm you created. Tears shimmered in her eyes. Love isn't a puzzle, Ayo. It's not something you win with the right answers. It's something you build with truth. She walked to the door. Opened it. You should go. For a moment, he didn't move. The mighty CEO, the self-made king, now looked like a child again. He rose, slowly. Walked past her. And paused. Afedeo, he whispered. Do you still love me? She didn't answer. And then, he was gone. Back to the streets. But this time, not in disguise. This time, he truly had nothing left. Not because of money. But because of truth. If this tale has touched you, if you've paused to reflect, gasped in disbelief, or felt your heart stir, please like the video and subscribe to Afrotales TV. These stories deserve to be told, and your engagement helps them reach the world. In life, some journeys begin in disguise, but end in revelation. And sometimes, the only way to return is to be broken first. 3 weeks passed. No calls. No messages. No sign of Ayotunde Olamide, neither in the press, nor in the shadows. For the first time since his empire was born, Lagos had forgotten his name. Afedeo, meanwhile, lived in a quiet ache. She kept the lights low, the curtains drawn, and the envelope untouched. Not because she was waiting, but because part of her still listened for a knock that never came. Until one morning, it did. But it wasn't Ayotunde. It was Damalola. And this time, he did not knock. He barged in. He smelled of expensive cologne and bad decisions. His smile had teeth in it. I heard your charity case disappeared again, he said, leaning against the doorframe. Maybe now we can talk like adults. I told you we're done, she said, backing away. Oh, but you didn't mean it, he replied, pulling a small box from his coat. Inside, an engagement ring. She stared in disbelief. I didn't ask you here, she said, voice sharp. No, he said. But the moment you took my money, you invited me back into your life. She stepped toward him. I return every naira. He stepped closer. I'm not here for money. Then, suddenly, he reached for her wrist. But before his fingers could close around it, a voice cut through the air like a blade. Let her go. Damalola turned. At the doorway stood a man in a black kaftan, eyes sharp, expression unreadable. Aya turned. But not the ragged version. No. This was the original, composed, calm, commanding. The mask was gone, but the power had returned. Ifadeo gasped. Eyo. He didn't look at her. His eyes were fixed on Damalola. You've crossed enough lines, he said quietly. It ends now. Damalola laughed, but it rang hollow. And what will you do, ghost of the boardroom? You've lost everything. Ayotunde stepped forward. Not everything. Just illusions. Two uniformed officers appeared behind him, calm but firm. You're under investigation for financial coercion and assault, Ayotunde said. And before you ask, yes, I made a few calls. Damalola's face paled. His voice faltered. You set me up. No, Ayotunde replied. You set yourself up. I just gave you the stage. As the officers took him away, silence returned. Ifodeo stared at Ayotunde. You came back. I never really left, he said, voice softer now. I just needed to find out who I was, without everything else. And did you? She asked, tears filling her eyes. He nodded. And I realized something else. Love isn't tested in absence. It's built in presence. I should have trusted you. I should have stayed. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the photo, the one he'd found in her drawer. I understand now. This wasn't a secret. It was a scar. And I should have seen it sooner. She took the photo and held it against her chest. I loved you before you had the empire, she whispered. But you needed to lose it to believe me. They stood there, no riches, no power plays, no test. Just two people. Raw. Changed. Real. And in that moment, love found its truest form, not in mansions or titles, but in truth stripped bare. The story ends not with a wedding, or with riches restored. But with a promise. A real one. Some tales don't need fairy tale endings. Just honest ones. If this story moved you, if you felt the weight of love, the pain of mistrust, and the beauty of redemption, then like this video, share it, and follow Afrotales TV for more emotionally gripping, culturally rich storytelling. Next time on Afrotales TV. He married his enemy to save his sister's life. A man is forced to marry the daughter of his family's sworn enemy to secure a rare medical treatment for his dying sister. As hatred turns into love, they face opposition from both families. Turn on notifications so you don't miss this powerful tale of hatred, healing, and the unpredictable journey of the heart. See you in the next one.